Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. And today is a glorious, glorious day. Football is back. It is upon us as the Bills take on the LA Rams. I'm, of course, your host, John June. And, of course, this guy right here, that's Greg Penniman. Greg?
Always got to remember to go the opposite way. I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same for you, but.
Well, it is. I like, you know what? I was like, my instinct was to go that way. So I was like, I'm going to go that way. So I went that way. If everybody doesn't know what we're talking about, we are here live on YouTube, Twitch,
yes,
Twitter. So if you don't want to miss out on all the fun stuff that happens behind the scenes, which you can't really see if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and any other podcast platform that you can pretty much find us on, then you got to get on the YouTube and you got to see like these facial expressions, right? Like,
word. Got to
so,
see the merch that we got, the whole background for John. Like it's amazing. Got to see it live.
And then you got to play the game. Where is Greg? Because
facts, it could be anywhere. I'm a nomad out here.
Recording from anywhere.
Anywhere. Live from SoFi Stadium. Next thing you know.
We got Greg Penniman on the ground covering the NFL season opener. But no, all jokes aside, we appreciate y'all tapping in and watching us talk about some fantasy football and talk about some some of these games with these lines. And Greg, we're in New York and online sports betting is now legal. And so therefore, like we can put our money where our mouth is.
In fact, I did bet a Josh Allen anytime touchdown tonight with the Cooper Cup. So put that in. Sure. Thought he was gonna get two. So I don't want to get too bold. Put we want to be smart when we're gambling. So
definitely want to be smart there. Sorry, I told Greg I'm like mid draft right now. So if you see me like tilting over here, that's probably why. But don't worry, I only got 2 picks left. And because this is the latest draft I think I've ever done in my life, just hours before NFL kickoff, I will end the draft with a kicker and a defense, Greg.
Oh yeah, please do that.
All right, so let's move on here. Oh wait, sorry, I'm on the clock. But this isn't time for that. I got to be a professional. I got to be able to make my draft picks and be able to, talk fantasy with y'all at the same time because I am a professional. So we're going to get down to business. We've got the 1 p.m. games, which we're breaking down. We have the Cincinnati Bengals Pittsburgh traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a 44.5 point total where the Steelers here are 6.5 point underdogs. 6.5 point underdogs, Greg. At home.
Sorry.
On the road.
Yeah,
See, Greg's out here messing me up. So
because of the banner, that's all.
It says verse,
usually verse.
We don't have a verse means you're on, you're playing at home, right?
Yeah.
Means you're going on the road.
Got you.
I got an Excel I just behind the scenes. We don't have a producer, right? I'm basically the producer here, and so I had to make an Excel formula to really see see what's in front of you right now. Little concatenate action.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. So, because I wasn't going to sit here and type every team. So it was either that and make it verse across the board, or I was going to sit here and type them, and I wasn't going to do that. So
versus, word. There you go. Versus.
Back on the game, though, there's possible thunderstorms in this game here as the Bengals take on the Steelers. There is supposed to be rain before, but possible thunderstorms during the game. In terms of injuries, on the Pittsburgh side, Deontay Johnson, he is limited. He was limited with a shoulder injury. So I think he's on track to play, but just, be mindful of that. Of course, on the Cincinnati side, they're okay for the most part. In terms of the game here, I'm going to take the under just because of the Pittsburgh Steelers, where I think they might struggle a little bit offensively, and then obviously Cincinnati having this being this potential thunderstorms here in Cincinnati. So with that, I'm taking the under, but I am going to take the Bengals to cover 6.5. I'm going to take the Bengals to win this game. For the Cincinnati side, Joey B, top 10 quarterback option for me. Again, the weather slightly concerned, but you drafted Joey B. You're going to start him. Chase is a wide receiver 1. Higgins a high end wide receiver 2. Boyd is a deep flex play. Joe Mixon an RB2 with RB1 upside, and then Hayden Hurst, your stream of the week, Greg. He's definitely a streamable option for sure. On the Pittsburgh side, Najee, volume-based RB1, Deontay Johnson, a wide receiver 2 for me in this matchup, and then Chase Claypool, George Pickens, they're both deep flex options. I don't think you have to play them in this game, particularly in week 1. But I would go Pickens over Claypool. But obviously we have to wait and see. That's just kind of what we think right now. And then Freiermuth is a low end tight end 1 for me. But that's all I got.
I'm gonna go with the under here. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh to cover, but Cincinnati to win. Yeah, I'm pretty much agreeing with you in most points. Definitely for the Cincinnati side, Joe Burrow and the wide receivers definitely have a good matchup here. Definitely against a weak secondary, I think, in Pittsburgh. So the trio of receivers should all get a little bump here. You're starting all of them, Jamar and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. And yeah, Hayden Hurst definitely should have some value. As I've said, stream of the week. Hopefully this is a start where he gets, close to 6 targets, 7 targets. And on the Joe Mixon, you already know, fire him up. That's automatic RB1, top 10 play every week, especially with the volume and especially with the weather. And we're looking to see a positive game script for them. So Joe Mixon should get a lot of volume. Pittsburgh, on Pittsburgh's side, I agree with you as well. Najee Harris, definitely volume-based RB1. He's going to get his touches, especially in the passing game, those receptions, especially in PPR league. You love that. Mitchell Trubisky is probably going to do some dump offs this year for sure. Deontay Johnson, definitely don't like his matchup in this one. I mean, but he's going to get volume. So yeah, I think he's still a top 30 play, but I have him as a low end wide receiver 2. And Pat Freiermuth, low end tight end 1 value in this one.
Yeah, pretty much. That was nice and easy here. Start with these 1 p.m. games. Got to start come out the gate a little steady there. So the next game we got up, the 0-0 Philadelphia Eagles are traveling to Detroit to take on the 0-0 Detroit Lions. This game has a 48.5 point total, where the Philadelphia Eagles are 3.5 point road favorites here. In terms of the weather, this game's in a dome, so we don't have to worry about that. In terms of injuries, the Eagles are okay. But on the Detroit side, seems like offensive linemen. I'm gonna give this one a try, Greg. Halapuluvati Vaitai.
Okay.
I believe they call him Big V, former Philadelphia Eagle. He's on injured reserve with a back injury. So that's definitely going to be somewhat of a downgrade to the Lions offensive line. I'm not sure how long he's been dealing with this injury, or if this is something that they've been managing. So definitely something to keep an eye on as we head into this game, Greg. But where are you at with this game here?
I'm going to take the under in this one. I'm taking Philly to cover, though, and Philly to win. I just think Philly, from all aspects of the game, is a better team here. I think Hurts season, again, should be in full effect, should be in very strong, got a favorable matchup at all the skill positions. Detroit, we know last year was just bottom of the league in defending against the run, bottom of the league in defending against the wide receivers, matchups, and fantasy. So give a bump to Miles Sanders. He looks like he's ready to go. I think he's a strong RB2 here. AJ Brown, wide receiver 1. Devontae Smith, I think it's a good bump here, especially with his favorable matchup. And Dallas Goedert, of course, high and tight end 1 for me. I think top 6, 7 play. So yeah, I'm loving the Eagles offense here. Playing them, start them all. Detroit side, it's kind of similar to like last year. Swift, Hawkinson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now we're adding that into the mix. I think he's high in He's in the wide receiver 2 range for me. I think Hawkinson gets that bump with the matchup. Eagles definitely last year was they were a solid defense, but definitely the tight end position was one to attack against Philly. So I think that continues this year with TJ Hawkinson. So he's a tight end 1 play for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over here. I think Detroit, they can provide a little gas here, so I'm gonna take the over, but I will take Philly to cover 3.5. I almost took Detroit to cover this 3.5, man. I really did. Just because they fight, man. They got so much grit.
They do fight, man. Some of those games last year really just bounced the other way for them. And those could have been wins.
Definitely could have been wins there, but I'm gonna take the Eagles to cover, Eagles to win here. On the Detroit side, I think Swift is an RB2 with RB1 upside. Philly defense, they're strong versus the run, but Swift should make his plays in the pass game. Jared Goff will have some good weeks, but I don't necessarily know if this is one of the ones I want to bet on. So,
No.
I mean, it is from a DFS perspective, you could probably talk yourself into it. 3.5-point dogs. I mean, at home, you could kind of talk yourself into playing Jared Goff, but I'm not going to be.
If he's like he's probably one of the cheapest plays, so
I don't know because he's not in my player pool. Have no idea.
There you go.
So, but I'm just like we always say, there's two sides to you could always convince yourself of some of these things sometimes. But I don't love the matchup for St. Brown naturally. But this week, given the tough matchup, he should see a lot of targets though. So that's the part that I'm really interested in. So when you consider that, he's a wide receiver 3 with upside for more for me. Definitely has upside. I'm curious to see how his role plays out in week 1. Last year the narrative was like, oh well, he did all of that at the end of the stretch at the stretch of last season with no Hawkinson, no Swift. But the fact that he was capable of doing that,
with all the attention on him,
So all that being said, I think that he will take a dip in some aspect, but he'll definitely be able to provide some upside for sure. And again, you could most definitely try out Hawkinson. Philly was a good matchup for tight ends over the year. When I look at the last 4 weeks, though, they were one of the better teams in guarding the tight end position. So, Hawk's going to get volume there. So definitely one of those things where you're going to start him. On the Philly side, absolutely love Jalen Hurts this week. He's a top 4 quarterback option for me this week going against Detroit. Love his weapons and A.J. Brown, who's a wide receiver 1, and Devontae Smith, who's a wide receiver 2. And then you hit it right on the head. I think me and you are on the same page. Goddard, he is the tight end 7 for me this week. So love him as a top 7 option. Miles Sanders, an RB2. But I definitely would stash Kenneth Gainwell on your bench ahead of the game, whether you roster Miles Sanders or not. So keep that in mind. If he's out there floating on waivers, just take a look. Don't drop anybody crazy if you're in a shallow league and he just happens to be out there. But if you're one of those, 12-team, 2 flex leagues, and he might be floating out there. So definitely one of those guys I would consider. Moving on to the next matchup, and this line has shifted a little bit, but you guys are gonna get what I got when I typed it in here. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway. We got the 0-0 Indianapolis Colts traveling to Houston to take on a 0-0 Houston Texans. This game has a 45.5-point total where the Indianapolis Colts are 8.5-point road favorites. It's a lot of points. In terms of the weather here, this game actually found this out. I probably did know this, but the Texans have a retractable roof. I've always thought this game was in a dome, but then I saw that there's a sun and there's weather. And I was like, oh, they must have a retractable roof. So this game's being played in a dome, but they're going to open the roof because there's supposed to be nice weather. So weather's okay. Yeah. Houston, in terms of injuries, they're okay. On the Indianapolis side, big news for them. Linebacker, formerly known as Darius Leonard, currently known, and I guess previously known as Shaq Leonard, is a full participant after sitting out most of training camp with a back injury. So looks like he's ready to play. That's huge for the Indy defense. He's one of the best linebackers in football, one of the best playmakers in football. So, having him out there is definitely, big for them. In terms of this game here, I'm thinking we get a sneaky AFC South shootout here. Like Houston to cover 8.5. I'll even take them to cover 7.5, honestly. Indy to win the game ultimately, because it's just how I think it has to go in the AFC South. On the Houston side, curious to see Davis Mills in this one. He's definitely a guy that got some respect last year after his performance for the Texans. I think he's startable in 2 quarterback leagues. He's a QB2. That's about it. But he's definitely a guy that I think will be on the streaming radar as the year goes on. Brandon Cooks, high-end wide receiver 2 with definite wide receiver 1 upside. Nico Collins, an interesting name as somebody I'm watching ahead of this game. Have him as a wide receiver 4, but less, let's see what happens when he gets this, if he gets the target share that we would like to see, somewhere in the 18 to 22%. I would put him in solid wide receiver 2 territory on a team that be trailing for a lot of the time. So see how that goes. And then the most popular man in fantasy right now, Dameon Pierce.
Word, yo. Facts, man.
I got him down as an RB3 flex option for me this week. Rex Burkhead, a desperation RB3 in PPR leagues with the potential game script. I'm fingers crossed on that one because I'm starting Rex Burkhead in the league. I don't even want to talk about it. But Brevin Jordan, interesting tight end dart throw that you can take. On the Indy side, it's real simple. Jonathan Taylor, the RB1 for me this week. Matt Ryan, a QB2. Michael Pittman Jr., a high-end wide receiver 2. That's really it for me on that side. But again, I think this game could shoot out. So if you want to play some DFS, you want to get some action on this game, Paris Campbell and or Alec Pierce, definitely cheap options that you could look to in DraftKings. So, 2 guys that I like, potentially season long, but I think just are outside of our frame of mind here in week one redraft leagues.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the under here still. I do like Houston to cover though, for sure. Definitely a big home underdog that could, do something here. But I'm taking Indy to win. Do like Davis Mills. I mean, I like the intrigue of him. I'm in wait and see mode for a lot of Houston players, except Brandon Cooks, obviously. Definitely a solid play as a wide receiver 2 for me. Maybe not the most favorable matchup, but the volume is there. He's going to get what he's going to get. Brandon Cooks is a dog. Other than that, definitely intrigued about Dameon Pierce, versus Rex Burkhead, how that split's going to be, how their roles are going to be. I still in wait and see mode for everybody again, except Brandon Cooks. On the Indy side, definitely love the matchup here for Matt Ryan against Houston. I think he's definitely startable. I think he can give you a low-end QB1 week, actually. Especially if they don't go 2 ahead and then rely on the run game in the second half. But if it's close, we think Houston's going to cover. Matt Ryan, I think, is low in QB1. Pittman, wide receiver 1 season, I think he's going to be here. Starts here. Paris Campbell, I think, has some low end flex value, and of course JT. I agree with you. He is the number 1 running back in the league for this week. The matchup is just too juicy. If there was someone I want to bet 2+ touchdowns, it would be JT this week. That's what I want. On that mute. Yes, 1-1. I'm here. Yes.
Yeah, JT to score a touchdown is the easiest bet I think you can make in week 1.
Yeah.
That's why it's minus 240. And for those at home,
that's why you got for that too.
You got 2. 2 is a nice one. There was the five touchdown game against Buffalo last year. That was a lot of fun. Hopefully we get another one of those.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Right around fantasy playoff time too. Oh man, that'd be great.
Yeah, I hope you're knocked out by then. Moving on to the next one. We've got the 0-0 New Orleans Saints traveling to Atlanta to take on the 0-0 Atlanta Falcons. This game has a 42.5-point total. The New Orleans Saints are 5.5-point road favorites here. This game is in a dome, so no concerns of weather. In terms of injuries, Atlanta rookie wide receiver Drake London, he's a limited participant dealing with a knee, but it seems like he's making a comeback from this knee injury that he suffered, I think week 2 of the preseason. So this was mostly precautionary. Seems like he's on track to play, especially if he can get a full practice in. On the Saints side, they have an injured wide receiver of their own in Michael Thomas. He was limited with a hamstring, but again, also seems like he's he's potentially on track to play here. Greg, where are you at with this game here?
I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take the Saints to cover and the Saints to win. I think this is another matchup where the Saints are just, the better team on their side, man. Famous Jameis, keep banging the drum, man. Sleeper of the year season begins here. Historically has killed the Falcons in the past. He's averaged over, the last 5 games against the Falcons, averaged over 3.2 passing touchdowns against them. So he's definitely, in a great matchup here. I think he's, got better weapons this year with Michael Thomas being there, Marquez Callaway, Alvin Kamara. I think is a high in RB1 for me, top 5 play. Another guy who I think can get into the end zone for sure. Because Atlanta, not a very good team defensively last year, and we talked about especially against the run. Michael Thomas probably will see a lot of AJ Terrell. I do like him as a defender, as a corner. And he is coming off one of his first games in a while. So I think could be not too reserved on him. I think he's still a top 30 play. I just think he's in the low end wide receiver 2, 3 category. So Jarvis Landry, I think, is a slight bump because of the treatment that Michael Thomas might get. I think he gets to see some targets. Michael Thomas's, I think, target share will increase as the season goes on for sure. And on Atlanta side, Kyle Pitts, I pitched the fool. I'm here for it. It begins right now. And Cordell Patterson, those are the guys I'm looking at to make an impact on fantasy.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take Atlanta to cover. Something about the AFC South and the NFC South, man. Those 2 divisions, they'd like to play close games here. So I'm going to take, the like I said, the Falcons to cover 5.5. The total's too low in my opinion, so I'm definitely taking the over. 42.5 seems kind of low.
I agree.
I know Drew Brees and Matt Ryan aren't playing, but 42.5. I mean, I don't know.
This is James put some numbers now.
Yeah, I mean, James put some numbers. I mean, I feel like Arthur Smith, can put up some numbers.
Put some numbers for the other team in the past. Like, you never know. Like,
yeah, Jameis can hit the over by himself.
Facts.
On the Atlanta side, yeah, Kyle Pitts is my tight end 6. Probably not where you would as high as you would want him to be, considering where we were probably drafting him, but that's where he landed in the rankings this week. Obviously has upside for more. I love Drake London, the player. I don't particularly love him this week with the matchup. He's probably going to see Marshawn Lattimore, one of the best corners in football. So, or does Lattimore try to play on Kyle Pitts at times? I don't know how it's going to go. We'll see how it goes. I honestly don't even know what you do if you're the Saints in that situation, or just anybody trying to cover Kyle Pitts. But anyway, Marshawn Lattimore, is he going to end up on Drake London?
For what Mike Evans does to Marshawn Lattimore, I don't want anyone taller than 6'4" over on Marshawn Lattimore. That's
They get each other. They get each other. I mean, there was the time that the infamous 0 game when Marshawn shut out Mike Evans.
Oh
so
man,
it goes both ways. They both get their licks in every now and then. But yeah, I am playing Drake London in a couple of leagues just because I kind of need. I'm banking on the volume there. So it's kind of where I'm going. I'm leaning towards Cordell Patterson, RB3 territory for me. The Saints are, they're good against running backs, but Cordell Patterson's obviously used in a variety of ways. Mm-hmm. I mean, Yahoo took away the wide receiver eligibility, but he pretty much was a wide receiver, and they very well may use him as a slot receiver at times this year, especially without Calvin Ridley. And again, I asked Greg to name another wide receiver on Atlanta's depth chart. He said Russell Gage. That man signed with Tampa in March. So it's clear that there's not many passing options here. So Cordell Patterson, I think, can definitely come through as a RB3. On the New Orleans side, we both like Jameis this week as a streamable option. So fire that up. Alvin Kamara, RB1 for sure. I definitely agree with some of your assessment with AJ Terrell. He's definitely a lockdown corner. Michael Thomas, though, spends, they move him inside a decent amount. I'm not sure if AJ Terrell, is one to follow inside. I don't have any cornerback data in front of me right now that, would tell me one way or the other. But Michael Thomas, I do agree that he is a wide receiver 2 on the low end. I've got him as the wide receiver 22 this week. So that is a wide receiver 2 in his first game back. I actually lean. I mean, you know me, Greg. I'm all about upside. Plus, you love Jarvis Landry, so I'm not even.
Yeah.
I'm actually Olave
Decent
greater
spot.
sign Jarvis Landry. Like if I had to stash one of these guys on my bench, right? Like I'd probably stash Olave because he's got this enormous upside, and you know him being a deep ball receiver, playing with Jameis. Yeah, but I'm not playing him in this game outside of like maybe DFS. But that's it. Let's move on to the next game. We got, by the way, I don't think we hit any outside of like we didn't touch on it when we broke down Thursday Night Football. But we got some revenge games. We always talk about the revenge games, but we got a decent amount in week one. And a few of them, three to be exact, off the top of my head, involve quarterbacks. And this is the first one where we have the 0-0 Cleveland Browns traveling to Carolina to take on the 0-0 Baker Mayfield-led Carolina Panthers. This game has a 41.5-point total, where the Panthers are 2.5-point favorites. There is possible thunderstorms during this game, so something to keep an eye on in terms of injuries on the Cleveland side. On Wednesday, defensive end Jadeveon Clowney was a DNP with an illness in an elbow. Not sure of his practice status as of Thursday, but definitely something to monitor there on the Cleveland defensive side. Obviously, you know, Myles Garrett is still there and healthy, and so he's a great player. So they should be okay, and their secondary is pretty good. But we'll get to that in a little bit. On the Carolina side, fullback Giovanni Ricci. We don't discriminate on this show. You're going to get injury reports for offensive linemen.
Yes, sir. They're important. Hey, man.
Hey, it all adds up.
It does.
It all could make the difference in, you know, hitting the total or hitting the over.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
When you mentioned the Detroit Lions, one of their start, they're weak at old lineman. They drafted the old lineman. He's out. I mean, they're still weak, I'm assuming. So that's that's gonna be good for Eagles defense. Definitely my stream of the week.
Yeah, definitely. Greg plugging the stream of the week. There we go. So moving on, Greg, why don't you tell us where you're at? Or no, I'm supposed to tell you where I'm at.
Yes, sir.
You did the last one, so I'm gonna do this one here. So we've got the I'm taking the under here, taking Carolina to cover, taking Carolina to win. On the Carolina side, CMC, he is my RB2 this week, the RB2 for me. Baker Mayfield, a quarterback 2. I mean, we could get all caught up in like the revenge game and all this stuff, but
yeah,
I'm not playing Baker.
Yeah,
no. Like I'm not gonna.
No. We're not doing that. We're not getting cute that much.
In a 2 quarterback league, it might be a variable, but yeah. Anyway, DJ Moore, a high-end wide receiver 3. I know that's your bust this year, Greg. He was a guy I strongly considered, and I think that it starts out slow from the gate. On the Cleveland side, Nick Chubb, an RB1 for sure. Kareem Hunt, an RB3. Amari Cooper, I've got him down as a wide receiver 3. And David Njoku, I have him down as a top 10 tight end option this week.
Like that. Who'd you say you would talk yourself into playing? Was it Jared Goff?
Or something like that? I said in DFS, I would talk myself I could talk myself into playing Jared Goff. I would play Jared Goff. I would play Jared Goff
over Baker Mayfield. Okay, that was the question. Yeah, we're good. For me, I'm gonna go with the under. I'm taking Carolina to cover. Also taking Carolina to win. I'm pretty much with you on all your assessments here. On the Cleveland side, do love Nick Chubb. Like Kareem Hunt as well. As both playable, especially for PPR leagues. And as far as the receiver, Mark Cooper, I think he's a wide receiver, low end wide receiver 2, a high end wide receiver 3. We'll see how it works out with Baker here. I think he's going to get the most targets on the team, so that hope for sure.
You mean Jacoby Brissett?
Jacoby Brissett, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm living in word from Baker. Yeah, Jacoby Brissett will still give him a decent amount of targets. I'm intrigued to see how this tight end situation works out. If Cleveland's going to still play like 2 tight end sets, is one going to get the target share between Harrison Bryant and David Njoku? On Carolina side, totally agree with you as well. CMC, you're playing him top 3 play every week. This is his revenge tour from the last season of being hurt. I think he's going to prove to everyone why he's one of the top running backs in the league. DJ Moore, I think he's a slight bump down, but I still have him as a high end wide receiver RB3, flex play. I think he's still playable there in that area. I still would play him over Robbie Anderson for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we made it pretty clear. DJ Moore is the only part of this pass
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
that we want. That's not
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we don't want to tie ourselves too much to this pass offense. But it should be. Look, man, Baker's going to be lit. Like, he's going to be turned up
He's
in
gonna
this
be amped
game.
up. You're
So
right.
I'm and I'm somebody who I actually like Baker Mayfield. So, I'm kind of rooting for him in this situation. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Moving on to another revenge game. We've got the 0-0 Baltimore Ravens traveling to MetLife Stadium to take on a 0-0 New York Jets, where this game is a 44.5 point total. And Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are 6.5 point favorites against Mr. Elite himself, Joe Flacco, and the New York Jets. In terms of whether this game is okay, in terms of injuries, the big one to note, J.K. Dobbins, he's limited. He's been limited with the knee injury. Lamar Jackson had a little bit of a Freudian slip the other day, and they were asking him about J.K. and how does he look. And he said, he's looking good, better and better each day. Hopefully we can get him out there in a couple weeks. Read into that what you would, but when I hear that, it sounds like we got pretty good intel from the starting
franchise quarterback player. Yeah, he knows what's going on in the front office and the health issues of everybody. And he's probably personally checking on these players. So
I mean, he got the game plan, right? He got the game plan.
He got the game plan. Yeah.
He thought JK wasn't pretty involved. He knows what's up.
Right.
For the New York Jets side, they got some injuries of their own. As I mentioned, the elite Joe Flacco. I say that tongue in cheek because if you don't remember, Joe Flacco declared himself elite and demanded that the Ravens pay him $20 million, which was the going market. Sounds pretty cheap right now, but it was the going market for quarterbacks back then.
It was.
They said win a Super Bowl, and we'll give you the $20 million. And then Joe Flacco went out and won a Super Bowl, and then the Ravens were stuck having to start Joe Flacco for the next 5 years after that. But then they helped themselves by drafting Lamar Jackson with the 32nd pick in 2018. So it all worked out. But now, Zach Wilson, who was drafted number 2 overall, is out with a knee injury, presumably for the next few games. And so Joe Flacco gets a start. Dwayne Brown, this one is concerning if you're a Jets fan, which there aren't many of us, except for me wearing this Jets hat here on this podcast talking to y'all folks. Dwayne Brown was a DNP yesterday and today with a shoulder injury. If you don't know, Dwayne Brown was the tackle that the Jets signed to replace Mekhi Becton, who suffered a season-ending knee injury the second weekend of training camp. So Jets probably are in a little bit of trouble on the offensive line when it comes to the tackle position. Greg, now that I've made that plate for you, go ahead. Tell us what you got.
I'm going to take the under, but definitely taking Baltimore to cover, Baltimore to win. I think this is going to be kind of ugly here, possibly. I think Joe Flacco, if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't won a start in like 14 games or something like that. That's a long time. So yeah, it's gonna. You have Baltimore defense on your team. That's scary. I think that's a good play right there. It's probably one of the plays of the week, starts of the week, if we had one at the defensive position. Lamar Jackson, QB1. I like the running game here is going to be intriguing. No JK. Picked up Kenyon Drake this morning actually, or this afternoon. There's Mike Davis in the background, so I think they're both going to share touches. I think they're both going to be involved here. I think they're probably both in a low end RB2 category for me. But Lamar here is probably going to be the best running back of the day. Mark Andrews, high end tight end 1. And on the Jet side, I think it's going to be tough here. If I'm definitely believing in Brees Hall, but I think this is not the week to fire him up just right away. Michael Carter, I think will probably get most of the touches, but will he be productive in those touches? Probably not too much. Still probably have him as like a top 30 play, so he's there for me, low in RB2, high in RB3 category. And that's about it for me. Elijah Moore, I think, is also playable, but I would reserve. No, this is just not the week for all Jets skill position players, and it's gonna get bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over here. I'm gonna take Baltimore to cover. I'm gonna take Baltimore to win the game. On the Baltimore side, Lamar is my quarterback 5. Mark Andrews is my tight end 3. I don't think Dobbins goes, which obviously we've been saying all week, but which would make Mike Davis an RB2, I think, and Kenny Drake an RB3. I just think Mike Davis probably has the edge over Kenny Drake just because he's been with the team basically since the draft and whatnot.
Mm.
So I think that he probably gets most of the workload, but Kenny Drake will fill in and get RB3, some RB3 value this week. I think Rashad Bateman, he's a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside. The Jets have gotten stronger defensively. They got some corners. They upgraded at corner, so I think it probably could make it a little tough. But I think this is a day that where the Jets, who were a bottom run defense last year, the Baltimore does whatever they can to expose that part of the game. On the Jets side, I wrote this before I knew about the Dwayne Brown injury, so again, this could affect that. But I really like Elijah Moore this week. I think he has wide receiver 1 upside. I say that because Baltimore was really bad against wide receivers last year. They were really bad at the end of last year as a defense. They did have a lot of injuries. Marcus Peters, there's no guarantee he can go. They still have Marlon Humphrey, who he's a good player, but the Jets are going to scheme up ways to get Elijah Moore the football. So I think just that being considered, he has some high upside this week. Corey Davis, I think, given the game script, has some sneaky upside as a wide receiver 3 as well. And then I agree with your assessment, Breece Hall. This isn't the week that I'm in wait and see mode with Breece Hall, and that's why it's tough, right? Because he was going off the board as like a 4th round pick, and typically I'm all over that price. I was willing to pay it for JT. I was willing to pay it for or for Najee Harris. So but when it comes to Breece Hall, it's tough because you don't really know what the workload is going to be like, and we want to start out strong in week 1. So I think if you're in a PPR league, Michael Carter makes some sense because he will get some of those catches, some of those receptions, which makes him valuable in a PPR league, even if he doesn't score a touchdown. So, and then Tyler Conklin, my stream of the week, I think he's got some upside given the matchup. But
yeah, do like that.
It could get ugly, man. After I was a little bit more optimistic before the offensive tackle injury, but now with the offensive tackle injury, I'm a little concerned. So, anyways, let's move on to an AFC East matchup. We've got the 0-0 New England Patriots traveling to Miami to take on the 0-0 Miami Dolphins. This game has a 46.5 point total, where the Miami Dolphins are 2.5 point favorites. There's rain expected in this game. I feel like it's Miami. I feel like New England's always playing Miami in week 1, and it's always raining.
Yeah.
Anyway, for the Miami side, in terms of injuries, running back Chase Edmonds, he was a limited participant with a groin injury. Jalen Waddle, he was a limited participant with a quad injury. Myles Gaskin, a limited participant with a neck injury. Salvin Ahmed, a limited participant with a heel injury. For the New England side, Ty Montgomery, he was limited with a knee injury. Jacoby Myers limited with also a knee injury. And then Isaiah Wynn, he's questionable. I know he's been dealing with some injuries since the start of training camp. And this is the first time in the history of this podcast that I've ever gone and collected the injury report, Greg. And the injury list was longer for the opponent than it was for the Patriots. That is a first.
That is a first, actually. Oh, man, for sure. Tom Brady was just penciled him in every week, and then you just add on from there. Yeah, that's crazy.
But in terms of this game here, I did not. Okay, yeah, sorry. My notes almost messed me up here. In terms of this game here, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take Miami to cover. I'm going to take Miami to win. On the Miami side, Tua, he's a QB1 for me this week. Tyreek Hill, in the top 5 of wide receivers. Jalen Waddle in my top 8. So I really like that pass offense on the Miami side. Chase Edmonds, a high-end RB2 with some RB1 upside, and I think Raheem Mostert has value as an RB3 as well. For the Patriots, I'm out on everyone except the running backs. And in that instance, I'm going to play Ramondre over Damian Harris.
For me, I'm going to take the under. This was close to call. I'm going to just take New England cover and New England to win. I don't know how they win, but they find a way to win. I agree with you, though. On their side, the running game is where they're going to make their money. Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, I think, are in the top 30 of plays, but I do lean to Ramondre Stevenson. I think they start to show that, he's going to be one in the pecking order, kind of. On Miami side, I do like Tua. Do like Tyreek Hill. Also like Chase Edmonds as well. I think all three of those guys are definitely playable. You're starting them. I think it's tough for Mike Gesicki this year. I think he's definitely well, not even a guy that's gonna be considered considering. So that's about it for me.
Sorry, I made this crazy facial expression.
Face.
I made this crazy facial expression when Greg brought up Mike Gesicki. But I have to say, and if you listen to this pod, and Greg, you know me, you're probably confused, like, why is John making that face? He loves Mike Gesicki. I absolutely love Mike Gesicki. But everything that we've been hearing out of Miami is that they don't want Mike Gesicki. That, they were willing to let him walk in free agency. I think they caught some wind that some teams, particularly within their own division, would have signed Mike Gesicki, so they franchise tag him. Then there's this talk. Then there's, they're talking about Mike Gesicki being a better blocker. They need him to be a better blocker. I mean, you looked at Mike Gesicki, man, I don't need to ask him to block. I'm cool. I mean, that's always been a knock on Gesicki, but I mean, accept the man for what he is. He's not a tight end. He's a receiver at a tight end's body.
Right.
That's really what he is. And so, with Gesicki, I don't think they want him to involve him. And if they don't want to involve him, then I don't want him on my fantasy team. I'm sorry. I love you, Mike. Next year. Or maybe mid-season trade. Who knows? We'll see.
Maybe.
Moving on to the next matchup. This one's intriguing for sure. We got the 0-0 San Francisco 49ers traveling to Chicago to take on the 0-0 Chicago Bears. This game has a 41.5 point total, where the Bears are 6.5 point home underdogs. Possible thunderstorms during this game. So definitely something to note. For Chicago, wide receiver Velus Jones Jr. is a limited participant with a hamstring injury. And for the San Fran side, it's not looking really nice for George Kittle.
Here we go. Oh, man.
Early.
Yeah, I'm glad, I don't have any George Kittle this year. Definitely, love the man, love his talent. I just need to get him on the field.
Yeah, that's tough. He was a DNP with a groin yesterday. Looked like he was a DNP again today on Thursday. So looking like he's on track to miss the game on Sunday. So on the continuing on the Niners side, Deebo Samuel, he was questionable with a knee, or he's questionable with a knee and was limited participant in practice. So Greg, where are you at with this game here?
I'm going to take the under. Definitely the thunderstorms may tie also to that. I'm going to take San Fran to cover, San Fran to win. San Fran and the Colts are my two survivor picks for Survivor League. I'm in with 2 entries, so I do really am very confident in these 2 teams and them dominating in this game, especially San Fran. They definitely have the advantage here in a lot of aspects of their team. Love Trey Lance in his first matchup here. I think this is built for him, even with the low scores and the under. He has that safe value. I think his rushing ability. So I think that's going to show here. So I think he has low in QB1 value for me. Elijah Mitchell, I definitely like his play here. I think he has RB1 upside in this matchup. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, both those guys, especially if George Kittle can't go. Especially Deebo Samuel's wide receiver 1, RB1, whatever you want to call it. Brandon Ayuk, I think, is definitely flex play here, strong flex play. and then we'll take advantage of his matchups. And on the Bears side, I'm only really looking to play David Montgomery because of the volume. I think it's still going to be a run-heavy offense, and Darnell Mooney because of his volume, his targets that he's going to get. He's in that low and wide receiver 2 range for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with. I actually switched my pick because I did have the over here, but I actually, oh man, it's just I keep going back and forth because of how bad the Bears are gonna be.
Yeah, man, the Bears are going to be bad, man.
I'm gonna switch it. I'm switching it.
The Bears are going to be bad.
You're gonna under. So I'm taking the under, taking the Niners to cover, Niners to win.
Niners at home too. Oh man, yeah.
No, the Bears are at home.
Oh, you're right. Again, with that versus twice, I get there.
You'll get there, Greg. You'll get there. I just see at and think away.
It's true.
Away.
But yeah.
This is verse, so you're home. So
right.
We'll get it.
Right.
Maybe like week 4.
Week 4. Over under
3.5.
Over under 3.5. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, this could be an ugly game. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the under. No, I'm gonna stick with the under. I'm sticking with it. No, I'm gonna stick with my original pick. I'm going with the over. So I have in my notes. It could be an ugly game.
What's your gut?
I think we get the over. San Fran to cover, San Fran to win. On the Chicago side, Justin Fields, I'm stashing him. I'll stash him. I may not start him, but I'll stash him. Darnell Mooney, a volume-based RB or wide receiver 3 for me. David Montgomery, a volume-based RB3 for me. And then Cole Kmet, a volume-based tight end 1. I will say stash Khalil Herbert, please, ahead of this game.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you have David Montgomery. Please.
Whether you draft him or not.
Yeah.
Stash him, please, because there's a strong chance that he could finish the season as a starting running back for the Chicago Bears, and it won't have to do with injury. So, just saying it.
Yeah, something I did in my 16-team league. I had to make sure you do
it. Trey Lance, not in my top 12 this week because of the matchup, which may not be as bad as the data might suggest. And again, I'm using, just to give people an idea of what I'm doing, I'm using the data from the end of last year, and the Bears were a better team on paper last year, at the end of last year, especially defensively. But they've made a lot of changes. They've gotten cheaper, which means you probably get a little worse. So Trey Lance, he's got the upside because of his rushing ability. All it takes is a rushing touchdown to add to his day. It could really, flip the day from being an, oh my God, I can't believe I started Trey Lance, to oh my God, I can't believe I started Trey Lance. So both of those things can definitely happen. So I think he's if you have Kirk Cousins, I'd probably start Trey Lance, right? Kirk Cousins over
Kirk
Trey
Cousins.
Lance. Yeah. If I had one of those safer options, even Aaron Rodgers, somebody we've talked about,
Matt Ryan?
I don't know if I go Matt Ryan.
All right, word.
I don't know if I go Matt Ryan. Maybe it's just when you say it initially, it's okay, well, that game could shoot out, but what if it's just the Jonathan Taylor show and then he's not really involved?
That's true.
Getting the ball off 30 times. So yeah, I'm gonna go Trey Lance just because of the upside. But because of what I have here, I think like you said, Kittle being potentially out, I think that would lean more like Deebo Samuel, Ayuk being heavily utilized in this game here. So Deebo Samuel, a wide receiver 2 with some wide receiver 1 upside, where I got Brandon Ayuk as a wide receiver 3 with some wide receiver 2 upside. Elijah Mitchell, an RB3 for me with some RB2 upside. Definitely. I'm just gonna be curious to see, right, how this running game really works out when you add Trey Lance to the mix. That was one of the things that I was concerned with last year. So I'm just gonna see how it plays out. But yeah, being 6.5 point favorites, the running back should definitely be heavily involved there. Moving on to the last game here, we've got the 0-0 Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Washington, take on the 0-0 Washington Commanders. This game has a 43.5 point total, and the Washington Commanders are 3.5 point home favorites. In terms of the weather, okay. In terms of injuries, Jacksonville, Foley Fatukasi, the defensive tackle, he's questionable. Don't know what for, but he's questionable. On the Washington side, safety Cam Curl, he was DNP on Wednesday with a thumb injury. Don't know what his status is as of Thursday, but he's definitely a strong player in the Washington secondary, so that could lead to some maybe potential higher scoring impact in this game. Logan Thomas, the tight end, he's limited participant with a knee injury. Wide receiver Cam Sims, limited participant with a concussion, and tight end Cole Turner, a limited participant with a hamstring injury. In terms of the game here, I'm gonna take the over. I really, really like this game. I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Jacksonville to cover. Taking Jacksonville to win this game. On the Jacksonville side, I love Trevor Lawrence this week. Like, I really love Trevor Lawrence this week. If you guys watching on YouTube and you see I'm winking, you might catch me on Saturday. We'll see about what happens, But Trevor Lawrence, definitely love him this week. Makes sense that I really like his wide receiver 1 and Christian Kirk. Travis Etienne, he's a running back 1 for me. James Robinson, it's tricky. I mean, you could flex him. I think this game hits, like I said, I think it hits the over. I think we got a high-scoring game. So James Robinson scoring a touchdown, very probable. Zay Jones and Marvin Jones both have a ton of upside. If you're playing, especially if you're playing DFS, those are guys that are going to make it in my lineups. Marvin Jones always has that crazy, spectacular game. Week 1, him and Sammy Watkins, they do it every year. So maybe it's possible. Evan Ingram has some appeal as well, playing tight end for the Jacksonville Jags. So, like I said, I think this game shoots out. I like Carson Wentz a lot on the other side this week. Love his weapons in McLaurin as a wide receiver 1. Jahan Dotson. I don't know what his rostership is right now in Yahoo leagues, but that is a guy. We will come here on Monday, and Greg's going to do his breakdown, and I promise you, Jahan Dotson will be on the waiver wire list.
Oh, man. He's only 22% rostered in Yahoo League, so go get him so he doesn't have to be on the list,
He's going to be on the list.
Oh, 22%? Okay, I'm about to sweep through all my leagues right now. Do the sweep through.
In terms of Antonio Gibson, I think the volume is going to be there week 1. So that puts him in, RB2, RB1 territory. I think RB2 with RB1 upside ultimately. And then JD McKissick, again, if this game shoots out, JD McKissick, we know he's the pass down back for the Washington Commanders. So he's a guy that I think has some RB3 upside potentially in this game. But from a DFS perspective, I love stacking this game. It's one of my favorite games on the slate.
That's what's up. I totally agree with you with the assessments. Over on the game, Jacksonville Jaguars, I got them covering, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, I got them winning. I think Trevor Lawrence he's definitely a great play this week, actually, because the Washington Commanders definitely struggle in that secondary. It's definitely very attackable. So I love the play here, and his weapons, of course. Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, and Travis Etienne. I think they're all playable. Evan Ingram, I think could be, has some upside, but I need to see it to believe it. But definitely love ETN for sure. Of all those guys I named, ETN has definitely the highest upside besides Trevor Lawrence. And on the Washington side, Scary Terry has definitely started the week upside here for me with the matchup here and just the talent that he is and the targets that he's going to get from Carson Wentz. He loves throwing it down to his wide receivers, giving them a chance. Antonio Gibson, JD McKissick, it definitely depends on this game script, especially if they're playing from behind or if it's a competitive game. JD McKissick is going to get a monster in targets, so he could be playable as a low-end flex in PPR leagues, especially. Antonio Gibson, I think, is still a top 30 play. I'm a believer in Jahan Dotson. I know we got him in a couple leagues, so I've seen his name popping up a lot. I think, definitely doing sweep through. Definitely going to be there, and I'm excited to see what he can bring.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like I said, he's 3,400 in DraftKings. So I'm just saying, play DraftKings, PPR, 3,400. It's a nice cheap flex. Help you stack up on some of these other high scoring games. that we're gonna cover tomorrow.
Yes,
And by
sir.
tomorrow, I mean Saturday morning, live, but it'll be in podcast platform. So again, if you are listening on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we appreciate you. You're just gonna get the episode a little bit later, right? Not much later, but just a little bit later. But if you watch it live, that's like instant gratification right there. Saturday morning, you're tilting. Thursday night football maybe didn't go your way, and we're gonna help you. We're gonna help you out. We're gonna help you out. So tap in with us Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Roughly 10 a.m. Obviously you've seen us. We've been rolling in here, 10, 15 minutes a little later than scheduled, but we'll get better. Trust us as we get our cadence down. But 10 a.m. we'll be in here Saturday, breaking down the rest of the slated games, doing starts of the week, playing some Get Money, which is a head-to-head DFS contest between Greg and myself.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
The rules are interesting, but I'm not, if you're new, I'm not going to spoil it for you now. You're going to have to tap in on Saturday and, check in with us and see what's up when we play Get Money. But until next time, y'all, have a good one. Enjoy Thursday night football. The tilt is real. Watch out for it. And we'll catch y'all on Saturday. Peace.
Yes, sir. We out.